Good evening. Can everybody hear me like this? Good. So, who is familiar with the idea, the concept of parallel realities? Raise your hand. Who's not familiar with it? Cool. Good. Okay. Well, this is one. And 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 this is one. Every moment that you have an experience, you're quite literally experiencing an alternate reality. Things have changed. Now the assumption is that things change within the same linear, consistent reality, but that's not actually true in my experience. So it's not that there is one reality within which your molecules actually move around, so to speak. We're not in the one same linear reality within which the objects move around independently. Every change is a complete change. Every change is a complete shift. Every motion, every movement is a completely different reality. That means that there's many different realities between my hand being over here and my hand being over here. But consciousness can configure those realities, or can view those realities so seamlessly that it seems like it's one continuous reality, when in fact I'm in one reality, 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 etc., constantly, consistently. That, in a nutshell, is the idea of parallel realities. Now, one very important thing that comes with this understanding is that your sense of time starts to become completely different. When you really understand the concept I just briefly touched upon, and I'll explain some more, the thing that disappears is linear time. It doesn't completely disappear. It can still be there. It's still there, but you see that it is an illusion. You see that it is a projection. You see that it is an agreement. The idea that there is linear time is an agreement. It's not an actual physical, mechanical, energetic fact of the universe. So the idea of parallel realities brings with it the idea of nonlinear time. Or, from another point of view, you could say timelessness. The fact that there is no linear time. So take consciousness, just to start with. You are conscious of my voice, are you not? Are you not?
Yes.
Thank you. So, you are conscious of my voice. You're conscious of your body sitting in the chair that you're sitting in. Has there ever been an experience where you were not conscious of that experience? Have you ever experienced the reality without consciousness? No. Good. All right. So everything that ever existed has only appeared to or inside of your consciousness. Just like the entirety of your dream at night, even though it may seem out there, even though it may seem like you're visiting actual places, it's all happening inside of your consciousness. Reality is exactly like this. So you've never experienced, no one has ever experienced, no consciousness has ever experienced a reality outside of its own consciousness. That's because there is none. There is no reality outside of consciousness. There is no projection, there is no experience outside of consciousness. Or another way of saying that is, nothing exists independent from consciousness. Objects do not have beingness. Appearances do not have existence on their own. They depend on consciousness. Just like the experiences, again, in your dream at night. They don't have beingness of their own. They don't have existence of their own. It's not that they exist and you go visit them and then you leave and then they still exist. You project that you're going somewhere, but that's all happening inside of absolutely still, motionless consciousness. So you are the center of the universe. That's the basic idea. That's the basic realization that you can have. I won't go too deeply into that now because that is a whole different topic in and of itself. And I'm kind of assuming you have some kind of familiarity with that if you've come to my meetings before. But basically just assume, even if you don't believe it's true for now, just assume that consciousness, which is what you are, which is what is listening to my voice, which is what you cannot escape, no matter how hard you try. You can run away from this meeting, you'll still be conscious. You can be hit by a car, you'll still be conscious. You can go talk to your mother, you'll still be conscious. Maybe a little less conscious, but you'll still be conscious. So consciousness is always there. Every experience you have meets inside of consciousness, inside of you. You can never change you. You can never leave you. You are inescapable. You as consciousness, you as awareness, you as the witness are inescapable. You as sentience, as beingness, are inescapable. You can feel into that for a moment if you stop thinking for 2 to 5 seconds. Just stop thinking. Give away all your thoughts. And notice the space that remains, the clarity, the consciousness that is still here, the I am that still exists. The very obvious, overwhelming sense, I exist. Exists whether you're thinking or not thinking. But when you're not thinking, it becomes very clear that I exists independent from everything that appears. Regardless of what appears, you exist. Right? Okay. So consciousness can never be escaped. And it's the ground of all experiences. It's the meeting point of all experiences. So now that you know that consciousness is the meeting point of all experiences, in fact it's the center of the universe, you can start to imagine that within this consciousness there is the availability of infinite possibilities. Infinite possible configurations of energy, as I call it. Energy, which is one of the aspects of consciousness energy, can shape itself into whatever is possible. So on a universal cosmic infinite scale, everything that can ever exist already does exist. Any possible configuration of energy that can ever be made or created already exists. Where you shift your consciousness into determines your experience. And so consciousness sets itself up in such a way in this life, in this experience that you're having right now, that it creates or that it shifts into a reality, a view of reality that then looks very similar to the previous one, and then very similar to the previous one, and then very similar to the previous one. It does this so that it can have the illusion, it can generate the illusion of a linear timeline. But in fact, every single nanosecond is a completely 100% different new reality. Not new because it already existed, but new to you from your point of view, from your I am consciousness. So you don't move around inside of an actual world. You change worlds every nanosecond inside of you. Does that make sense? Okay. So one way to imagine this is to take the example of a movie, when you go and watch a movie. Now you know that a movie consists of images, no? Each image is its own complete 100% reality. One picture has no relationship whatsoever to the next picture, even though it looks very much alike. But you can cut them in half. You can take one picture, bring it to China, put the other one in a space shuttle and send it all the way to the other side of our galaxy. They have no relationship whatsoever. Even though they look so similar, the only thing that changed is the motion of a finger, the movement of a finger. So one picture, the actor's hand is over here. In the next picture, his finger slightly moved. That is, from a visual point of view, the only difference between these two images. However, from the point of view of the image itself, it doesn't know what it looks like. And all it knows is that it's its own complete reality, and that its molecules have no relationship to the molecules of the previous image, what we call previous image. So you see, it's up to the observer to create the sense of time. Based on this image, and then this image, and then this image, we as the observer of one image to the next image to the next image can say that there is a previous and a next image. We can say that this came first and then that appeared. First my hand was over here and then it moved over there. From the perspective of the hand, nothing ever changed. Because there is only one hand in that particular reality. The one that is slightly more over to the left, it is a completely 100% different reality that has no notion whatsoever of the other parallel reality. Does that make sense? So you can see that if you were to slow down a movie, a motion picture, which is what it is, a motion picture, picture in motion. And that is what life is too. You would see that you could freeze a segment. And what would that look like? What does one complete reality look like? If you would not shift automatically into the next reality, it would look like everything was absolutely frozen. Hypothetically, you can keep your consciousness in one such picture. It's not really relevant for most people to experience that. But it is hypothetically possible that you could slow down that process to the extent where all you're aware of is one timeless, total configuration of universal energy. So, every time you change, which is all the time, your reality changes. It's a constant reflection of who you are. It's a constant reflection of the frequency of your consciousness, the state of your consciousness, the point of view of your consciousness. So right now, again, you're in a 100% completely different reality than you were in 10 seconds ago, even a nanosecond ago. But to make it more obvious, 10 seconds ago, that was a completely different universe. This is a completely new reality. This is a completely new reality. This is a completely new reality.